on the issues that matter to you. And tonight we have a big question on the table. Should direct elections of MMDCEs happen? Is it a good thing or is it just a waste of time? We have two people very close to that development in Ghana to give us some insights into the matter. We're on Facebook at CityTVGH. Our hashtag is The Point of View. Comment and let's hear from you. We'll be right back with our guests. Welcome back. So over the weekend, the IDEG held a workshop where it sensitized key groups on progress to be made on this particular issue. We also understand that the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has presented a bill to Parliament to consider amendment of 2 critical articles to pave way for direct election of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives. So tonight, to answer the question of whether we need to even be thinking about electing our own metropolitan, municipal, and district assembly people, we have the Deputy Minister for the sector and Member of Parliament for Ekwapim South, the Honorable O.B Amoah, popularly known as O.B Amoah. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Bernard.
It's great to have you. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Good.
My Liverpool friend. You never walk alone.
You will never walk alone till Jesus comes. I also have a man who's been really instrumental in all of these discussions. He's really a man who's been fighting for good governance at various levels. He's the Executive Director of the Institute of Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey. Doc, great to have you. Good evening.
Thank you. My first day in your studio.
Oh, yeah, I've had you on previous shows, but it's good to have you. Somebody asked me to ask you whether this morning you got what you were looking for.
Oh, my goodness.
So, viewers, I interviewed him on radio in the morning, and he was in a very interesting place when I spoke to him. So, thank you for talking to us. So, what I'm going to do first is to give you a quick reminder of some of the voices on this matter. It's been a very important issue. In the MPP's own manifesto, chapter 13, let me just read what the MPP said they would do, then I'll show you 2 quick videos. The MPP says they would oversee the direct election of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives within 24 months of election into office to coincide with the next district assembly elections in 2019. They also promised to strengthen the substructure of MMDAs through capacity building and adequate resource mobilization. We'll find out whether that promise has been achieved. Dr. Akwetey spoke about this issue recently. He thought that the extension of the date he was hoping that the voting would take place was not a good thing. Let's hear him.
People in Mali, they can elect their mayors. Why? Why can't the people in Ghana elect their own chief executives directly? What is somebody afraid of? This policy of electing MMDCs has been our foundation policy from our very beginning. Okay? Now, this same policy has now found its way to the NPP manifesto in 2016. But you see, when you change something, but then you don't present the implementation elements, then some people start to have some believability or credibility issues with you. In the 2016 manifesto, this is what they promised to do, and I'm quoting from their manifesto. This is not from the PPP manifesto. I'm quoting. It says, oversee the direct election of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives, MMDCEs, within 24 months of election into office, to coincide with the next district assembly elections in 2019. Well, in July 2017, the President assured the nation at the orientation for newly appointed MMDCEs that the elections would take place as promised, insisting that they, the people he was talking to, they would be the last batch of MMDCEs.
So that was Dr. Akwetey Indum. He wasn't happy that we are now talking about 2021. This was a few weeks ago. We've also been hearing from the Deputy Executive Director for the Center for Local Governance Advocacy, Gladys Gillianadu-Tete, has been speaking about some of the potential challenges with directly electing our MMDs.
The CLGO will urge government to do all it can to have MMDs elected directly and properly by the people to consolidate local democracy in Ghana. The consequences of traversing this path is that it is laborious but affords citizens the opportunity to have a say in how to elect their leaders and deepen local democracy and grassroots participation in governance. The question is not only about what Ghanaians are seeking for, but it's also about what can afford majority of Ghanaians the opportunity to properly and directly elect their local leaders, as has been offered them at the national level. The government should have communicated to Ghanaians on the new approach to fulfilling its manifesto promise of electing MMDCs and issue a clear roadmap to demonstrate its commitment to delivering on that promise, since the process is laborious and may involve a lot of legal, policy and institutional changes in our democratic system. To decide on whether to elect leaders such as MMDCs on partisan or non-partisan basis, it is quite laborious, which may require some time than anticipated. That's if you want to go the partisan way. It is clear that from the process of amending the constitution, we should go the partisan way. That is, if you want to go the partisan way, there is no way MMDCs could have been elected within 2 years of MPP.
So that was Gladys Gillianadu-Tete. So let's start with the Honorable O.B Amoah. Dr. Indum just quoted what I quoted before the show started. So this manifesto is big for us. Within 24 months of election into office, MPP will oversee the direct election to coincide with the next district assembly elections in 2019. Is this what you are doing?
We are doing more.
Oh, really?
Thank you and good evening to your viewers. If you read carefully the manifesto, it says within 24 hours we will oversee the direct elections. Now,
24 months.
Within 24 months, you oversee the direct elections.
Yes.
Now, when we said it to coincide with the next district assembly elections, that is September 2019.
Okay.
So we're hoping that by September 2019, we would have finished everything for the election of MMDCs to go alongside the district assembly elections in September 2019. However, after coming to power, the president, if you quote him, said that a critical step to take is to elect these MMDCs on partisan basis. On partisan basis. Because if you read the manifesto, we were not too categorical as to whether it was just non-partisan or partisan. But the moment we introduced partisan basis in it, obviously we had to amend the constitution, and mainly to target Article 55.3 meant that we had to go for a referendum. And the President, the State of the Nation address, page 8 February 2018, made it clear that to amend this article and to conduct the referendum, it would be wise and prudent to let it coincide with the assembly elections, so that we save cost, we make it easier for the average voter. And that's what we've been doing. So what we have is the pre-referendum period, referendum period, and then post-referendum period. And thankfully, we are on course as far as mostly the consultations and the paperwork are concerned.
So you didn't contemplate the partisan basis in the manifesto?
The manifesto, they don't make it clear about partisan basis. But after coming to power, as I said, the president, if I may quote him, he said, Mr. Speaker, yet another ambitious decentralization exercise is the expansion of full democracy to local government. A critical step to this end is the direct election of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives on a partisan basis. It is a fair manifesto commitment of the new patriotic party. Further, my discussions with the nation's political leaders, including the former president of the Republic, convinced me that it's a step we must take. The constitutional impediment to this, in Article 55 of the Constitution, an entrenched clause, must therefore be removed. Then it goes about judicious use of resources, so we should go for a referendum for the people to decide that indeed these elections should be on partisan basis.
Why does it have to be on partisan basis?
Well, why not? Why not on partisan basis? Because one, everybody will attest. I mean, if you have been following what has been going on, even let's say 1988, there were no political parties. From 92 to date, some of us have been observers and players, and it's obvious that for every assembly elections, we pretend that it's non-partisan, but parties line up against behind candidates. So it's pseudo-partisan. Who are we deceiving? We're doing something which is supposed to be illegal. We pretend that it's non-partisan, but we know if you go to the assembly, we know almost where every member of the assembly stands and who brought them to the assembly. Whether it's MPP or NDC or CPP, we know which parties sponsored these candidates to be in the assembly. Except that is the Constitution doesn't allow it, so we pretend that doesn't happen. But if you want to elect these MMDCEs and it's non-partisan, it will be chaotic and unworthy.
Chaotic?
Chaotic. You may end up with how many candidates? I mean, because if parties are involved, parties decide that this is our candidate. Other parties decide, probably in a district you may end up with about 7 contestants. It's more manageable. But if, for instance, you should say that, okay, it's non-partisan, but we're going to elect them, you may even end up with 5 persons coming from one party. And nobody can stop them. Because there's no party discipline.
Oh, okay,
there's no, yes, you get 5 or 10 persons all wanting to be candidates, and because it's non-partisan, you can't say that one person should step down.
But as we speak, when we elect some of those local reps, it's not chaotic.
No, it's not chaotic.
Because we do vote for some of these people.
Yes, but you should also notice that for electoral areas, I don't like it to have so many people done for a whole constituency. If it's for a constituency and everybody wants to be and you don't have that party discipline. But if it's partisan, MPP will say that this is our candidate. Okay,
let me ask Dr. Akwetey whether he agrees with the decision to make it partisan. Because they promised for us to vote. Then when they came to office, they realized that it has to be partisan. Are you the one who advised them to do it, to make it partisan?
This is only one of the reasons. There are more reasons.
I'm curious in knowing what you think about.
Well, definitely, we stand for parties going in.
Okay.
You know, we've practiced local government for 30 years. The non-party-based local government system for 30 years. It is 30 years is a generational span for the development of a country. That is when we begin to look at what structures have you transformed? Because we want to industrialize, we want to increase incomes, we want to tackle poverty, we want to have local self-government, strengthen local entities that are governing themselves. The president is more effective. And when you look at the development outcomes and some of the challenges we are facing, you find out that already 18 years ago or 20 years ago, no, maybe 18, from 2000 already, people were talking about the local government system, the non-party base, being unaccountable. Okay, the delivery of public services were not strong. People felt that DCEs appointed by the president were not accountable to the people, how they used resources and how they responded to the priorities, you know, the communities and so on. So you remember 2000 elections, President Kufuor already raised the issue strongly, and that is how it started.
It wasn't even in the manifesto.
It was in the manifesto as well. But as time went on, we never responded to this accountability demand in any effective way. In fact, the APRM, you know, captured it well and said this is one of the national priorities. By 2008, and since 2008, we also see that we've seen some important, significant changes in our political system, multi-party. 2 dominant parties very strong, okay? MPP, NDC. We've also seen that at the same time, the competition has become very keen. And then we also have the case of recurring threat of violence. We are mobilizing ourselves and so on and so forth, okay? To just peace. And so there are structural, certain trends that have emerged that are things we must address. Thirdly, you would want to look at how all the efforts we made to reduce poverty and also address the issues of inequality in our societies, and look at how Chapter 6 of the Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy, 35(6), where we are told that the administrative and financial machinery of the state must be effectively decentralized. It's part of decentralizing and strengthening democracy throughout the country. We have made progress, but we halted at a point, and we are not going further. So reforms ought to be things you do to strengthen a system, not to weaken it further. From where we sit, if we elected MMDCEs without parties getting involved, we have said that it wasn't going to change much. First of all, we even think that there's a risk that the president will lose control over local government. Local government is the machinery of the president to deliver his social, economic, and other policies. Okay, that is where he implements his policies. Now, how would that chaos come about? First of all, as he said rightly, the current local government system has never drawn a lot of, voter turnout. It's as low as 30 average. When we got 41% in 2015, we found out that the parties were now boldly engaging in it quietly, sponsoring candidates.
So you believe that when parties get involved, the turnout will be better?
Oh, of course. If you look at presidential and parliamentary elections, they are between 75 and 80%.
So political parties are possibly the most effective mobilizers of people in the country. They
are the most effective. But more importantly, political parties' cardinal primary purpose is development. They'll tell you that
they want to win power first.
Yes, they need power of the state, the economic power, political power, lawmaking power. He's an MP, he makes laws and so on. And they level taxes when they are in power and all that. So they want to utilize this power to solve our economic and social and other problems, our developmental problems. Once Article 55(3) said they couldn't participate in local elections, which also meant that they couldn't be part of local government, we took them out of the development arena and they focused more on elections. That is why when, after electing the president, the party spent so much time doing their primaries, party leaders, and then they come to the primaries for parliamentary, presidential. All the 4 years in the interval between elections, parties are being organized.
I want to take a drink of water so that I rephrase it. You've given me a nice sort of flow of the history, and you are saying to me that now the democracy's next level is local development.
Local development and transforming the local economy.
Which is where, but the people are concerned that the cost of our politics is too high. Some even did a study that said you need at least $300,000 to run for MP. And that if you brought voting into MMDCEs, you're going to increase.
Not necessarily.
But I think.
No, let me finish. No, this was we are overvoting.
No, we are rather turning the thing upside down.
No.
If you look at the Constitution, Article 55 talks about political parties. The right to form a political party. Every citizen of voting has the right to join a political party. And then 55(3) tells you the very importance of political parties. What they need to do. Parties free to participate in shaping the political will of the people. Disseminate information on political ideas, social and economic programs of national character, and sponsor candidates
for elections.
Then they stop
other than district assemblies.
So why would you say that the activities and the importance?
Let me quote somebody for you.
Before you quote, the other than is what has locked us in our political and economic development in the Fourth Republic.
Really?
Because parties are the agents; they are the organized group that in the 21st century, in the 20th century, post-war, they bring about transformational development. We are going to China. It's parties who have built China.
Some people say that...
You go to Germany, it's parties who have built Germany.
Okay, let me ask you directly. Some people say that,
yes.
and I'm quoting a story written, attributed to Emmanuel Akwetey, that such a move will deepen disunity at the grassroots if we allow for partisan election at the district level.
Before we went
it's
for
contestable.
Yeah, then he also went on to say that the DCs would like to unseat the government for their party to come to power. And it will be difficult for any partisan government to implement its programs through hostile DCEs.
Some of us who are old enough.
No, it's not.
Some of us who are old enough. When the champion was bringing Unigov, this was the same argument. The political parties will divide us, so we should have Unigov. When the PLC came on board, it was the same argument, to the extent that in 1988, before 92 Constitution came on board, they said that for assembly elections, there should be non-partisan, the government should have control over the assemblies. But, I mean, these arguments are not tenable.
Yeah, Bernard,
We've gone through this before.
Bernard.
The political parties will bring division.
Yes.
We've done politics, we've allowed political parties.
But we are divided, aren't we?
Bernard, we are divided.
As we are speaking, people are saying they don't even know whether if a new government comes, SHS is going to continue. We did 3 years, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. That's division.
No, but that's not because of political parties.
Is it not because how you do your politics?
No, but in Germany, for a long time, they rule by coalition. For a long time. They don't even have one strong party.
But are you disagreeing that political parties have divided us?
No, it depends on
how... They have not?
It depends on how we run it.
Well,
are we different from the rest of the world?
We are talking about our problem.
The Ghana is peculiar.
Our politics is very, very divisive.
Bernard, the divisions have always existed. They are exacerbated by the way we mobilize in elections. And we've deepened it because we kept parties out of development. Look, if you put parties in local government, they are going to live with the people and solve their problem. A DCE or MMDCE, Metropolitan Municipal Chief Executive, elected by the people, will be held to account like anything. Ask the MPs, there's one here, how, because they get the votes and the people know they voted for them, the pressure they put on them to solve some of the problems that are clear public policy, public goods issues, education, health, jobs, housing, sanitation, whatever. But they don't do that to the MMDCE, who they see as remotely detached from them, even though they live with them, and they are the ones a lot of money is given to do their work anyway, and so on and so forth. So the important point that we should make is that when parties get in there, they are going to be challenged. The people who are elected are going to be challenged to deliver, respond to the challenges of the people, the problems of the people. The parties can coordinate this. We have 254 districts now. It's a bit fragmented. But can you imagine if we have elections, I don't know, it says 5 people per district from MPP alone. Can you think about NDC and others? But imagine 254 chief executives who are not coordinated by parties, elected individually. First of all, who is financing them? And what agendas are they putting on the table? How will they work with the president? Who coordinates them? They are individuals.
You end up with individual manifestos.
So you feel that the parties bring some structure to the election?
The business of the state has to be organized. And parties contribute to its organization. But let me tell you, when you listen to this quotation from Professor Emmanuel Akwetey, I think we shouldn't assume that we are just amending the constitution and then the parties go in just automatically. No. The amendment of 55(3) is actually going to trigger a number of reforms before parties get in. The first thing we must look at is this. Since 1958, I think the first multi-party, legal multi-party elections was held around 1958.
Yeah.
So 60 years now, parties haven't participated in local government. And in all democracies, even in authoritarian states, local government is where parties, learn, train, test the ideas, and there are practical ways of solving problems and respond to the needs of the people. When you take them out, you've deprived them of this important practice and learning.
So you've addressed the issue of you are saying that without parties, there may not be structure. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But what about the issue of cost?
You see,
because when the president appoints a person, the cost to the state is that he just appointed a person. But if the person has to go through elections to become DCE, it means that he needs to mobilize resources.
Yes.
So we are voting for a president, we are voting for an MP,
Yes.
we are now voting for a DCE.
Just like the mayor of London.
But we don't have a proper. The difference in Ghana and London is that London, funding of political parties, the rules are very clear. Here we don't have proper rules for funding parties.
So what prevents us from
We don't.
putting-
The only rule we have is
that we don't implement
What
it.
prevents?
So if
what
you can't
prevents
implement
us
the rule, why are
from
you going to-
clarifying the
No,
rule?
it's not for us to implement
What
it.
prevents?
It's a
What
body,
prevents
the
us?
rule.
not the electoral
No.
commission.
So it's one
There's
of
a
the
body which
important.
is in charge of
Bernard,
running political parties.
It's one of the important changes we should expect. That the rules regulating parties will be clearer, because the rules that existed were made with the assumption that parties will not get into local government. Okay, there will be election machines. That's how we designed it. But it hasn't worked. It has rather divided us. Elections is the mobilization. You mobilize support, but you exploit differences. If I'm contesting with you in the elections, how would I win the election if I just said, oh, you are like me, you're a nice guy, you know, you are very smart, and am I praising you at my expense? I have to point out what is different about you from me.
Okay.
And that intensified it. But when it comes to development, you usually need competence. You need to bring people together to develop. You need different competencies. You may find many in your opponents, and you might find a way.
Okay.
Because development requires not mobilization, but putting our minds and our efforts and our skills and talents together. And that is where you can deal with the bribery, with the cost issues.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll quiz our guest more. There are quite a number of points raised on skepticism. In fact, the General Secretary of the MPP during the program that you held also raised some questions which I hope you will address.
We did answer them.
Well, we are doing it for the public. He's not the only person interested. We will read your comments too, because my guests are Honorable O.B Amoah. He's the Deputy Minister for Local Government, MP for Ekwapim South, and Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey, who's been at the forefront of this advocacy for voting directly for our MMDCEs. This is the point of view. Don't go away.
Ever thought about where you'd really want to live or invest? Is it beautiful, modern, and sustainable? Is the architecture advanced with state-of-the-art facilities? What if I told you you could find it only 15 minutes away from Adenta? When your hard work pays off, you need to invest in the right place. High-quality real estate appreciates in value. But the value is not just your home. It is also the area that surrounds it. Good roads with safe speed limits, drainage for even the most punishing floods, and neighborhood planning that ensures your view will never change. You can also invest in the commercial, social, and mixed business spaces, as well as Apollonia Business Park. It's time to make your move to Apollonia City. Call or visit us today. Our payment plans are tailored for you. Visit www.apollonia.com.gh or call 0275 577 577.
City TV is live. City TV is a free-to-air digital channel. On a digital TV, please press menu on your remote control and run a news search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like GoTV and StarTimes box. Tune into City TV and experience your world. City TV, it's your world.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're discussing whether or not we need to vote directly for our MMDCEs. There are lots of concerns about this. Some people feel doing this on partisan basis will unnecessarily politicize local governance. Some people think it's going to be too expensive. My guests are Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey, who's the Executive Director of IDEG, at the forefront of this advocacy, and then the Implementing Ministry, which I need to announce, submitted a bill to Parliament for the amendment of 2 key articles, 55 and 2431. We'll come to that shortly. So let me read a few more concerns.
Well, let me just do a little clarification.
Yes.
The ministry has been the sponsoring ministry for this whole bill. But because it's a constitutional amendment, the bill was submitted to Parliament or to the Speaker to be transmitted to the Council of State by the Attorney General. The bill was signed by the Attorney General following the Constitutional Imperative 290 and then sent to the Speaker, and the Speaker is required to send it to the Council of State. It has to last for 30 days there.
Okay.
And then to be gazetted for 6 months, after which we are free to do our referendum. 6 months, it comes to Parliament for first reading, and then we are ready for a referendum. So actually, you say that was signed or sent by the Attorney General, but we sponsored the bill as the ministry in charge of local government.
So, Mr. Boyedu joined the program said that there were concerns. He mentioned security implications in having an elected MMDCE as head of the security structure at the local level.
Yes.
Particularly when the elected official did not belong to the party of the government. How did you address this question?
Well, the first thing we said was that, as I said earlier, we have the 3 stages: the pre-referendum, referendum itself, and post-referendum.
Okay.
If the people of Ghana accept that there should be election of MMDCs on partisan basis, then that will free us to look at other laws and regulations that we need to amend to be able to really address these issues. And he raised the issue of security, mainly because of the fact that the DISEC, head of DISEC, for instance, is the chief executive of a district. Will he still be in charge of security, or do we have to amend the Security and Intelligence Act to say that the president will directly appoint somebody to be in charge of security? That was his concern. But it's not that there are several laws that we've listed that we need to have a look at them and agree how to amend all these laws so that at least...
So you're admitting there could be a problem, so you may need to change the powers of the...
That's why even after 2019, even though the Constitution 246 says that the assembly elections and the general elections should be at least 6 months apart, we are saying that even after 2019, there's so much work to do that by the middle of 2020, we will not have been ready for the assembly elections, in which case we cannot cross June 2020 and still hope to do the assembly elections because it will conflict with the Constitution. So we need all this time to be able to amend some of these laws.
But I thought you said that it wouldn't be divisive. So if you are as we are in MPPs in office, so if you are the NDC being in charge of a place like Ho,
yes,
and the DC for Ho or MC for Ho is from the NDC, if he's head the DISEC, then it means that he's also in charge of, is part of the executive.
No,
isn't that the idea you were proposing?
This is not a federal system. He cannot be in charge of security. Security is under the head of state.
But I thought you said you wanted to bring other people on board to run the country.
No, the fact that you're part of running the country doesn't mean for every aspect you should be in charge. We should be able to decide that for these areas, the president should be directly in charge. For these areas...
No. I thought we wanted to unify
against the Constitution.
Bernard,
this is not a federal country.
It's part of the executive arm of government.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And when you say you've decentralized power or delegate, it means that the president is giving some powers to reduce his load.
But not all.
And not all. He can, if you don't have mechanisms that will prevent him from taking power as at will, he could roll back this anytime because it's a lower tier.
So security at the local level should not be in the hand of the person the people locally elect to be there.
Article 55 amended
to run the security.
But the resources should be also devolved.
Resources is not only about money.
More resources
will
go to the districts. That's what the president says. But security-wise, look at it. Bernard, listen. Once the president opens local government to elections, parties, it means it's not appointing 254 chief executives in charge of the metropolitan, municipal, and district anymore. That means that effectively his direct power over the districts is gone. He ceded it. And it's the people at the local level who are now going to decide. But he's there, he does this reform to be able to implement his economic, social policies, look at the security of the country and so on. So what is going to happen is that the laws will be changed, and you look at how then the president, what functions will the president perform to hold us together. Security is one of the key responsibilities of the president. The bureaucracy, the civil service, becomes a very important instrument through which the president will govern the whole country and various other public service institutions. So what you're going to see is that whilst he ceded the political, control over the political power at the district level, he's going to rely more on the institutions. Okay?
So the role of the local government service change?
It will not change, but it's going to be, the president is going to be one of the instruments. It will be enhanced because the president's policies will be implemented by them. The political leader is no longer going to depend on the party. He's not as he does now. That is the party.
So let me ask, he's
going to work with different parties.
So let's assume the mayor of Kumasi is from a different party than the president.
Yes.
What development agenda will he use to develop Kumasi? Because I'm sure he would have presented a certain
to his people
manifesto.
His party would have submitted a manifesto to people.
But his party is not in government.
This is how we see local government.
So there's NDC in power.
Yes.
And the mayor of Kumasi is MPP.
Yes.
Now NDC's manifesto is running the country.
Yes.
And that manifesto has plans for Kumasi.
Yes.
But the mayor of Kumasi is NDC.
Yes.
MPP.
Yes.
And his plan is to do something else.
So you have to,
something else.
The overriding...
It's not something else. He brought a program.
The overriding...
This is the program I want to run.
So will Kumasi be run with the program of the mayor or the program of the party in government?
Both. The president is in charge of the country. He's head of the executive.
The mayor of New York.
He's the head of the executive. So he would define the policy framework, the work program, which is national. He has responsibility. After all, the mayor of Kumasi would only have responsibility for Kumasi. The president has responsibility for all the districts and the regions. So he will define the framework. And the mayor is obliged to implement the national, operate within the national framework. So his program would have to be aligned.
So what's the basis for his victory in the election then? Because he goes to the people with the plan.
He was hoping that his party, overall his party will win.
You go to the people with... you see, I think this is why the CRC white paper under the previous government, the person who wrote it made a very important point. He says, in decentralizing in a unitary state, which is the situation we are in, a delicate balance ought to be struck between central control and local autonomy.
Exactly.
That's why they came up with a hybrid suggestion that the president should nominate a minimum of 5 persons who will be vetted by the Public Services Commission for competence and will be voted for.
Do you think this is superior?
No, I'm just, the difficulty we are in now. Somebody goes to people in Kumasi and says, vote for me to mayor of Kumasi on the basis that I will redevelop Kumasi Central Market. So he wins the election. The party in power says, we don't have any plans for Kumasi Central Market. We're not going to give you any money to do it.
No, it can't be so. It can't be so. Don't forget that the president depends on votes from Kumasi as well to become president. Okay? And it's throughout the country. He's elected. It's a popular...
He's also popularly elected.
Yes. And so he would work with the mayor of Kumasi. Market.
That's the priority of the people of Kumasi.
The priority of people of Kumasi, he should respond. The mayor is going to implement priorities set by the president, but would have to sensitize it also to the needs of the local communities. Do you understand?
I think I get you.
So it's a very important reform, but we need to really explain. We have 6 months after the Gazette. In fact, the education should start now. But it's a very important reform in the sense that the president is going to focus more on strategic issues.
And we should learn best practices.
And we'll let certain things
administrative. Another question for you. A lot of people feel that the reason development is not getting to a local level, based on your premise, is not really because of lack of voting. They feel we haven't resourced the assemblies properly. We don't pay well enough to get competent people to work in the assemblies. Right? And the structure of the assembly is not aligned for delivery of development. So your problem is not... an accountability to the people problem. It's a competence problem. So how do you solve that problem? By just voting?
You see, they are both.
But accountability is very critical. The people want to decide who should rule them. You cannot sit in Accra here and say that I've appointed this person, let's say deputy organizer of a party, have nominated him, gets the assembly, then they endorse him, then he becomes who put him there. And that's, I said, the whole structure is a bit amorphous. At the national level, you elect the president on partisan basis. At the MPs level, you elect them on partisan basis. MP is a member of the assembly. He was elected on partisan basis, but he's a member of the assembly. The president who is elected on partisan basis appoints 30% of the members of the assembly. And then you go to the assembly and say the assembly is
no, but I'm asking, what are you curing? You see, I'm saying the problem with development at the local level, is it a competence problem or an accountability problem?
It's both. It's both. A person should be accountable because he has a mandate. If you give him a mandate for 4 years, he has to account to you because he knows that
but
at the end of 4 years...
Don't we have incompetent MPs?
We have.
Voted for the people?
Yes, but that's what the people have chosen.
But so voting doesn't cure competence.
No, but voting brings accountability.
Meritocracy. Elections are not meritocracy.
Bernard, you've now talked.
But then, even at the presidential level, we can say the same thing.
Yeah, but at least that's...
Bernard, you pointed to the problem.
Yes.
The problem of incompetence or inefficiency is that under the current system, because we put greater weight on you come from my party, I can't work with this party and so on, we tend not to respect competence.
Okay.
You see, it's your party identity and loyalty. A patron who says, put this man here, put that man there. This reform will change that system in the sense that the local government service is the meritocratic institution. And the president is going to take greater interest in building the civil service and the local government services because they are going to be the main instruments by which he governs the nation Ghana. Okay, so what is going to happen is that the parties themselves are going to take great interest in competence now. Because they don't solve any problems at the local level, they are not responsible, they are not participating in local government, they tend not to look at the competency issue. But once now they have, imagine you are in opposition, let's say MPP, you were using MPP NDC. NDC is controlling about 100 or 120 out of the 254. And they have to solve the problems of sanitation, water, road construction, school, free SHS, and so on and so forth. There's going to be competition here. The party is now going to find competent people who will deliver. Because at that point, it's not the political vigilante.
Okay, then it means that, for me, what you're saying, it means that the 30% of the assembly members that the president appoints should also end.
It's going.
It should.
It's going. Yes.
It should.
But
it's not part of the things you are taking to parliament. You are taking two things to parliament.
No, because if you amend 55...
If you amend 55...
5-3... Then you are going to, it will lead to all these things being looked at. Yes, you are going
so the president will not appoint any 30%?
No.
For instance, let me help. For instance, what we've listed here, for instance, Article 242 is composition of assemblies.
Yes.
So it will affect it.
Okay.
243, appointment of district chief executives. That's the 243 one that we are talking about.
Yes.
248, political parties and candidates for election. That is consequential to the 55-3. Then you look at the Local Governance Act.
2016, that's 936.
Yes, which provisions will you have to amend? The District Assembly Elections Act, which prohibits parties, you have to amend it. Political Parties Act, you have to amend it. District Elections Regulations, you have to look at it. You come here, Securities and Intelligence Act,
yes,
you have to look at it.
It's going to overhaul the system.
Yes. Then even Public Financial Management Act, Act 936. Then Procurement Act. All these things, you have to look at them and more.
Hey.
Yes.
So okay. But you're saying that the first issue is the referendum on the two broad issues.
Yes.
When that is done, that clears the way for these things to be done.
The referendum is on the one issue because the 243 is not entrenched. That one has to go.
So it's a
55-3.
So let me read 55 for listeners or viewers. So 55 political parties, yes, organization of political parties. Yeah. So 3 says, subject to the provision of this article, a political party is free to participate in shaping the political will of the people, to disseminate information on political ideas, social and economic programs of national character, and sponsor candidates for elections to any public office other than to district assemblies or lower local government units. So you are going to amend it to remove the other than.
Yes.
Then that's yours.
Or if you stop before the other,
then you are finished.
Yes.
So then the full stop will change.
Full stop.
Yes, that's
and
all.
because of this, you have to go for referendum.
Yes, because it's entrenched. Because the framers of the constitution, those of us who voted on the constitution,
and a national decision.
And I'm told the referendum we need minimum 40% turnout.
Yes.
And 75% endorsement.
Of that 40% saying yes,
75
we endorse it.
Wow. Now, is the NDC involved in this process?
Yes.
I think it will be at the stakeholders consultation throughout the country.
Yes.
We invited all the political parties. Most places that we went, NDC was represented. Other parties were represented.
By who? By which of their people? Because the NDC is a congress of many forces.
No, some places.
So you said the NDC was there.
You invite them, then they come, their officers, either the chairman will come with his team or national organizer, they come showing that they are office holders.
So do they agree with this timetable?
A lot of them agree.
A lot of them?
A lot of them. You cannot say 100%. Because you have a situation where even you have some MPP members saying that...
Yeah, but as an institution...
Are we ceding
as
power? As an institution...
The leadership of the NDC, do they agree with this?
What we're trying to do is that, having gone down, now we want to come to the top. We have enough time to consult at the parliamentary level. Already, we did it with the local government committee. We have enough time to deal with the leadership, to deal with the political parties. And I always say that if you pick PPP is already sold. If you listen to Pakwesindo.
Or bought.
If you listen to Pakwesindo.
It's clearly for this.
It's clearly for this.
He's
a chief advocate.
He's been consistent.
You understand?
But are we sure if Mahama is for this?
Well,
actually, interestingly, after the white paper.
Yes.
After the white paper, if you look at the 2016 manifesto, it was a bit nebulous. In one breath, you see that they want to have direct elections. Then they will say that we will look at the white paper and follow what the white paper is saying. So, in that area, I thought that they wanted to find a way of convincing the average voter that if
I'm asking this question because you see, you have already presented
President Mahama.
You've already developed. You've already presented to Parliament a bill.
Yes, the Attorney General.
Yeah, so if you want 40% of people to turn out to vote, and you need 3/4 of the voters to say yes at the referendum, you can't do this without NDC's explicit support.
Yes, but why would anyone do it without NDC?
If you don't start,
if you start and you're allowed them to enjoy?
No. They are talking. There's talking going on.
If you want NDC to take part,
go throughout the country.
No, NDC, the country is not. No, I'm deliberately asking this question because
Bernard, NDC is taking part. For instance, IDEC.
Yes.
We've had meetings with NDC. Last year, this year, we've been to party headquarters. We've met President Mahama and discussed this.
Has he agreed?
Met President Kufuor. He has to a large extent said that as the former presidents, when they met, they felt that this idea, the time has come for this idea. We have to look at how it will make the things work better. And those are the details that is of interest to him. But the fact is that there is data showing that 70% of people polled in 2015 and also in 2016, which was published in 2018, that's the Afrobarometer, and the NCC, both confirmed that 70% of Ghanaians want elections. Now, out of that, we also have data that shows that 41% now say that, look, let's go on party basis. And the majority of respondents from the two parties are already saying, look, the parties are there. Legalize it. Okay, so whether you like it or not,
his countenance and his demeanor,
he's skeptical, but it's good.
We show skepticism.
We need to spend time.
But what we have to agree is that Ghana will not be doing anything strange.
How optimistic are you that you get a 40% turnout?
Oh, the 40% turnout to cross the 40%.
You get it.
The critical thing is the 75%. That is 75% of those who turn out saying that yes, we want it.
Because you are some people even within MPP will not be happy with this.
So we need to do more. We need to do more education. We need to convert you. I'm sure you are getting converted.
I'm ambivalent.
What we expect from you,
he's on his way to conversion.
What we expect from you is to do more research, more study, and look at what other countries.
All these things I have in front of me here.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's not a straightforward issue.
No, but it's research.
No, it's not.
I haven't heard you giving the Kenyan example.
Because I live here.
Or the South African example.
It's good to see what somebody is doing in this country.
But you go to Rwanda. Is it Rwanda?
It's always contextual.
Even Cameroon, I met Cameroonians and they were wondering.
In fact, the Bible says the devil can
Zimbabwe is one of the best.
We'll take another quick break. When we come back, I'm going to read your comments because I've received quite a number of comments, and I hope my panelists can address these comments before we wrap up. This is the point of view. We're discussing whether we need to vote for our MMDCs directly or not. Don't go away.
Witness the twisted and tangled story of betrayal, greed, vengeance, and love in the award-winning Brazil Avenue. Carmenia, a woman led by greed, gets rid of her husband, who is Rita's father, and sends Rita away to a filthy landfill. Rita finds love in Batata, but they are soon separated by adoption into different families, far away from each other. Many years later, all paths cross again, as Rita, now a renowned chef, seeks to pay back her stepmother for taking away her happiness as a child. It's a story of twists, turns, suspense, and thrilling action in Brazil Avenue. Brazil Avenue, coming soon only on City TV. Brazil Avenue.
Ever thought about where you'd really want to live or invest? Is beautiful, modern, and sustainable? Is the architecture advanced with state-of-the-art facilities? What if I told you you could find it only 15 minutes away from Adenta? When your hard work pays off, you need to invest in the right place. High-quality real estate appreciates in value. But the value is not just your home. It is also the area that surrounds it. Good roads with safe speed limits, drainage for even the most punishing floods, and neighborhood planning that ensures your view will never change. You can also invest in the commercial, social, and mixed business spaces, as well as Apollonia Business Park. It's time to make your move to Apollonia City. Call or visit us today. Our payment plans are tailored for you. Visit www.apollonia.com.gh or call 0275 577 577.
Welcome back to The Point of View. We're having a very, very interesting conversation. My guest, Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey, Executive Director of IDEG, and Honorable O.B Amoah, MP for Ekwapim South, and the Deputy Minister for Local Government Rural Development. Here are some of your comments you sent in via our text lines. The only problem we have with the election of MMDCEs is the quality of the candidates the political parties will present. Yes. We expect the political parties to present competent candidates, not just a popular candidate from the party. Yes. Municipal chief executive position is more of a managerial position who can work and understand the technical issues at the municipal level, from president of the Voice Center for Inclusive Communities. Hi, Bernard. I think it's a step in the right direction. The MMDCs will now be more accountable to the people, and MPs will be a bit free. William Nyavo from Spintex. There's a question here. What will happen to DCs who are not in government? Yao Akoto. I also agree with Dr. Akwetey that DCs know the needs of their people and can address them better. Good evening, Bernard. I want to know if independent candidates can stand for election, and whether they will also, and whether this will also not create confusion, as many people can go independent. This is Kwesi Arthur Awoshi. Nicholas from Tema simply says, Point of View with Bernard is the best and a must-watch program. Thank you, Nicholas, for your feedback. Justice of Fair says, a step in the right direction, Bernard, but making it partisan dilutes the democratic dividend and can endanger the purpose of the decentralization on local governance which we seek to achieve. A couple of questions in there. Somebody wants to know, you've already said, what happens to the opposition MC who's voted in? What's his relationship with the MP? Because already there's rivalry. How are you going to manage that relationship?
No, it's like saying that when NDC was in power and I was a member of parliament, I couldn't relate to the DC. We looked at what the law said and we complied with the law. I mean, I was on very good terms with the NDC DC because I knew his role and he knew my role. And where we had to collaborate, we collaborated. So it's nothing new that, yes. I mean,
so it forces them to work together, you think?
They are going to work together because there will be clearer division of labor. Okay? The elected MMDCE would have resources responsible for local and depends on the local people.
Okay.
The MP is their lawmaker at the national level. And they need both. If you're an MMDCE and you need more funds, okay, and you want funds earmarked for certain projects which cannot be tackled through the District Assembly Common Fund or your share of it.
The MP who should be
you need your MP because you'll be vetting budgets and asking questions and dealing with the central government. Because you can't deal with the central government directly. You understand? So we are going to resolve some of the conflicts between them. They are both elected, but their roles will be clearly delineated. And maybe the MP will no longer get development funds to build schools. Probably he needs his funds to do his parliamentary work and monitoring what is happening locally, and representing them in the National Assembly more effectively. So these are things that will happen over time, but the reform clearly opens doors to transformation.
So let's get the timetable right. We are in October 2018.
But what we are planning, let
Just
me help
walk
you.
us through the
Let me
timetable.
help you.
Yes.
If you work backwards, the assumption is that come September 2019, the EC should be ready to hold the district assembly elections.
Good.
And we were saying that at the same time that we are doing the district assembly
the
elections,
referendum.
we should do the referendum. But if you look at the Constitution has given you the roadmap, the guidelines.
Okay.
You can't just wake up and say, I'm doing a referendum. You send the bill to the Speaker. The Speaker forwards it to the Council of State. At least 30 days should pass for them to submit their response. If they bring their response, you gazette it for 6 good months. So if you're planning to hold the referendum in September 2019, then you should be working backwards so that by that time, you would have cleared all the hurdles in the Constitution.
Okay.
That's how come the bill has been sent to the Speaker, who has sent it to the Council of State. The Council of State will respond. All things being equal, the Attorney General would then have to gazette it for 6 months, after which it comes to Parliament for only the first reading. After first reading, it goes for referendum. So if we follow what the
By
Constitution...
September 2019, we would have gotten to the referendum.
Yeah, we would have been ready.
Let's assume the referendum comes and we get the number we want. What happens next?
We get the number we want. That's when we start looking at all these laws.
You change all these smaller sub-laws.
Yes,
exactly.
Draw a program
So in 2019 into 2020.
Yes, and then by 2021, when these MMDCs will have hit 4 years, their term would have ended.
So this will be the last group of MMDCs to have been appointed.
Yes. All things being equal.
So in 2021,
yes,
then we will vote.
Then we will vote.
Irrespective of which party is in power.
As far as I'm concerned, we are staying on. But I'm saying that. I'm saying that
the Ghanaians will decide in 2021.
No, I'm saying that. No, beyond that, once we've decided in 2019, it means that that's what the people of Ghana want. Whichever party comes, we have to follow it.
Also, you need inter-party collaboration.
Because you cannot hold the elections less than 6 months apart, the 2 elections. It means that if you have your 2020 December elections, you can only have the next elections after June 2021.
But those laws can also be changed if the 2 parties want to work.
Let me give you the last word in asking you. A lot of people feel that in Ghana, we throw one solution to a problem. We've already said there's a competence problem, there's a accountability problem, there's a participation problem. Convince me that after we agree to vote for our MMDCs, we'll not go back to sleep. Because as you have already pointed out, the real problem is the quality of governance.
But
at the local level. If we admit voting does not cure.
But it can't be overnight.
No,
even the Supreme Court,
I agree.
The US Supreme Court, somebody said a foolish person had been sent there. Then he said foolish people too need to be represented.
Yeah, but we don't have time. Our government is more urgent.
Voting without parties will not cure. But voting with parties and reforming the local governance setup would cure. We hope in the 3rd week of October, we would launch a publication that will simplify things for people. I have a copy here if you want to see.
Give it to me.
No, this can't be given to you. No. You come to the publication.
Why are you keeping it to yourself?
You'll be the MC.
Yes, so I'll give you that. I hope it will be a collaboration, actually, between us.
So there's more coming up.
There's more coming up for people to understand the system.
All right, we've been talking to Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey, Executive Director of IDEG, who are at the forefront of a lot of the advocacy around voting directly for our MMDCEs. And the Executive Director is Dr. Akwetey. I also have the Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development and also MP for Ekwapim South, Honorable O.B Amoah, who's leading this implementation.
Oh, it's the Minister who's leading it.
Forgive me. You are the chief spokesperson.
Yes.
In that area. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you so much for watching.
The Minister who,
the point of view. Stay with us on City TV. Good night.
Point of View is sponsored by Apollonia City, Accra's new master plan city.